So let's start. Okay, so the rule of one would say something like this. And again, I want to go ahead and attribute that term to Andy Chamberlain of Music Academy. So the rule of one would say, if you're the only one on the platform and you're singing and it's your voice and your guitar or your keyboard only making all the sounds, then you are providing 100% of the music. So that would be the rule of one. You're providing 100% because there's you. Now, once you add a second person, you can't provide 100% of the sound anymore because you're not the only one. So now let's say it's you and another singer. So now your voice has to make room for another singer. Now that's fairly easy to do because you can sing the same thing, the same part in unison. Not a big problem. But volume-wise, you've added another element that's coming at the people. So it's another sound, so it's volume up. So you want to already even begin to start to adjust sound. If you've got a second vocalist, maybe you want to cut your vocals by 25% to make room for their vocal. Maybe you need to increase your keyboard instrument just by a little bit, and then take the mains down just a little bit. So the overall volume is the same, being heard by everyone, but it's blending with the three elements now. Okay, so now let's say you got a keyboard, that you're playing the keyboard, you're singing, you got a singer, and you got an acoustic player coming in, they're gonna play the guitar. Now the piano at one time could do all kinds of things. I've got 10 fingers that can play 10 notes at any given time. And let's say if I was the only player, and I was for a long time, I was used to playing all kinds of stuff. I'm playing the fill, I'm playing the driving beat, I'm playing the melody and everything. So all of a sudden the guitar player comes in and I'm all over his frequency. So I need to let up and give him some frequency. You need to give him some sound space, some real estate on that frequency board. So maybe I need to move my hands out or move up or drop 4 of my fingers or 3 of my fingers and give him some room for his notes to come through. And again, we always have to be constantly adjusting the volume, hoping that the sound person in the back is doing that, and we are adjusting our monitors so we're not competing and trying to bust our eardrums already. So you got to realize, and at this point, it's the rule of one. Now we're going to have a rule of really 1, 2, 3, 4, because there's a guitar, a keyboard, a vocal, and another vocal, and maybe another vocal. So now there's 5. We're going to have to make sonic room and audible room for everyone, volume space for everyone. Next comes a drummer. Okay, so here we go. Now, so you see where we're going. So every time we bring somebody else in, it's going to get a little trickier. So even before the drummer comes in, let's say we have a bass player. Now the bass player is going to be taking the bottom area of my keyboard. So forget all about that. And the bottom the top 2 strings, which would be the strings 5 and 6 on a guitar, maybe we don't need them to be so prominent. Of course, you're going to be strumming. So every time a new instrument or a vocal comes in, we have to be mindful. We just don't add. We can't go 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 100 because it just doesn't sound good. With every addition, we have to make sonic room, a real estate in the frequency, and readjust the volume. So the persons listening to us aren't blown away by the sheer volume, by the addition of every new element. And I'll tell you a little story. I was at a great church. This was a Church of God in Glendale, Arizona, and I was an electric guitar player for over a year. And this church band was smoking. This church band was cooking. We were wall-to-wall packed every Sunday. And let's see, we had a drummer. The piano player was the lead. He was Hispanic, and he did not read music. He played by ear, and you could tell for many years he was in churches where he was the only one playing because he overplayed everything. And now we got a bass player, a drummer, 6 singers, electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, a keyboard, etc. And he never learned to pull back. It's one of the reasons why I say please learn music theory. If he understood music theory and looked at a score and looked at parts, he would realize how little each part plays. You want to go get it, an old R&B gospel recording or something, and listen, see how little everyone's playing. So there are a few videos, not a whole lot on the internet, surprisingly, about overplaying. Don Moen has a great one where he has his whole band, his amazing band, each player shows so much restraint. He says to everyone, go ahead and give it all you got. So the guitar player, to me, they sounded amazing. And then they were all doing everything that they could do all together. And I'm like, wow, this is great. This is what used to happen when I would play in jam sessions. And I thought it was great, but of course, that wasn't the point. The point is everyone was overplaying, and everybody has a part to do. And even if you can do so much better or more, should you? So listen to professional recordings, see how very little that keyboard really plays. That guitarist who's so good just comes in and goes out. I mean, even in a track like David Bowie's Let's Dance, Stevie Ray Vaughan, we all know what he can do, but listen to his guitar parts, how judicious, how little they allowed him to play on that professional recording. Another good example, In the Air Tonight with Bill Collins. Oh my gosh, what drummer wouldn't have come in way sooner? Boom, 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 boom. No, but it takes forever for him to come in and play those drums. So much restraint. So if you listen to these professional radio recordings, you see how little they play. Their parts come in, come out. A little fill, come in, come out. So you want to avoid being a garage band where everybody's playing everything they know the whole time and every beat. It's going to sound like a large, big mess and a horrible polka. So you have to learn to play your part and judiciously. And not just that, if you don't show your own restraint, can you ask someone to show restraint for themselves? Because I've seen some leaders do that. They say, well, you play less, so they can play everything that they're used to playing. Well, we all need to learn to make sonic room and volume space for everyone else. So that's a constant effort, because a church band, you're going to have new people coming in and going, hopefully, it's not my five and no more, my four no more, my five and no more. But you're going to have new people that you're training up. They have a great guitar player, but we're going to have him sit out every other week and get these two that are new trained up. So you're going to have new people coming in and moving out. So constantly making room to adjust for the volume and the frequency space. So please remember that. Remember that. It's so important. I do want to say this, though. I have been in churches where I see overplaying happen a lot. And there are some benefits to overplaying. It does get people excited. Definitely gets the one that's overplaying excited. I was recently at a church, and this church was doing Shout to the Lord. An amazing band, amazing church setup, a really good, solid church, Assembly of God church. And the drummer was really good, and he was young, and I could tell that he'd come out of the marching band because he was doing that march. Third line of Shout to the Lord, the verse. And I thought, just because he can, and he never missed the beat, but just because he can, should he? And I'm not upset with somebody, and it didn't sound bad, but he had nowhere to go. After he pulled out all the stops on line 3, he had nowhere to go, nowhere to build. So just because you can, is it really showing musicality? Is it showing you off as a player, if that's what you were wanting to do, that you pulled out all the stops on line 3 and you have nowhere to go? And now the rest of the song sounds pretty much the same, because the drums are so prominent, and he never pulled back. He pulled out all the stops on line 3, and that's how it was. So really want to be judicious. You want a really great player will play and add something. Add something instead of just playing to be playing. So you want to constantly be mindful. Is what I'm playing supporting the other musicians? Maybe the tone that I'm using. If I'm playing the keyboard and I have another keyboard player, maybe one of us is playing pads only, and we're not layering all our notes. Sometimes I'll play only 2 fingers. I'm just doing octaves on the piano, and I'm not playing any of the fills. I won't block chords, just constantly thinking, what can I do to make space for somebody else? Because it's not all about me playing everything. This is the way I play it, and everybody work around me, or This is the way I play. This is the way you play. Okay, come on and join me. You play the way you play. I play the way I play. And everybody will play the way they play. And again, we have this garage band, and not in a good way. And we have a polka sounding thing where everybody's playing too many beats. And I think we've got to remember, music aren't the notes that are played. But music is often made beautiful by the spaces in between. So let's leave the spaces in between for the pauses. Okay, so make sure you keep that in mind. The rule of 1, if there's 2, the rule of 2, there's 5, the rule of 5. We've got to give a space and place for everyone. And not just supporting each other, but just sonic space and frequency space. And I keep repeating that because I think we forget a lot. Okay, so in that one church, man, we were cooking. The roof was going like this, and everyone was up on 10. And one day somebody said, Arabella, you need to turn your guitar up. They can't hear you. And I said, no, I'm not turning my guitar up, because I knew that I wouldn't be adding anything else to it. It'd just be another layer of sound. And but that's the way they always played. That's the way they always knew, and that's the way the leader was. And the whole church was hopping, and they didn't know the difference, so it's fine. And I'm sure God heard it from the highest of heavens, because we were voluminous. But I didn't correct anyone because I wasn't the leader, but I didn't add to the volume and jump in because I didn't want to ruin. I didn't want to train myself that was the thing to do, because I knew it wasn't the thing to do. I've heard enough professional recordings that I know that I need to show restraint. And you see that all the time in different industries too, like the chefs always say, you need to show restraint. Coco Chanel said, before you leave the house, take one thing off. Don't be so gaudy and tacky. So we need to learn to show restraint in our playing. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. Okay, and we have to know when to do what. But always be respecting other players. All right, so this is Arabella Gordon talking about what Andy Chamberlain called the rule of 1, and making sonic space for others, knowing that you can't be overplaying if you want to sound professional. If you want to tend toward a more professional sounding band, or if you want to be one of those bands that want to record eventually, and you don't want to just sound like this big live event where none of the parts can be heard, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that too sometimes. But if you want to sound like a professional recording, you want to tend toward that, then consider this rule where everyone's playing more judiciously. All right, I think I've made my point. I'm going to go ahead and let it go. All right, this is Arabella Gordon with a tip for your band. Now, overplay, the rule of 1, and I'll see you next time.